historically, one of a governor's best allies can be a controller who basically has his or her hands on the purse strings of the state and can be very valuable in the process of fixing what you say you want to fix. The unfortunate death of Judy Barton-Pinker leaves a vacancy, and there's a lot of conversation about process. I just have a very simple question. Why are you arguing for a 4-year appointment rather than a special election after 2 years?
Well, I'll say a couple things. First, I think we should get through tomorrow before we talk a lot more about this. Tomorrow is the time to mourn Judy's passing and to celebrate her life. She became a dear friend for me, and I just want to show respect to her. And so I don't want to get into a whole lot. I try to avoid the fighting about this because we keep getting, people keep wanting to talk about it. Let me say something about Judy. She was a true public servant, and she cared deeply about the families of Illinois. And she worked on a bipartisan basis to try to solve problems. And God bless her. She's a role model for all of us. And to me, I'll try just very briefly to give an answer to the question. The governor, I believe Governor Quinn has the right to appoint, today, an interim comptroller. That comptroller is pretty clear to me, serves through January 12th, and then the new governor has the legal authority from everything I can tell to appoint new comptroller, and there's no reason that should only have to be a 2-year term. It's a 4-year term. There's no reason that we see why it should be anything else. And I made my recommendation. Obviously, Governor Quinn should do what he feels is right. I think it should be done quickly, and it should be continuity, and also should honor and respect Judy's family to have Nancy Kimmy do an interim service. She's chief of staff. She knows the process. She can quick step in. There's no loss of profit, and that's an easy decision. In my mind, that'd be quick and easy. It's Governor Quinn's call. It's not my call.
Okay, back to the budget. A quick question, something that I've asked many times. We have had a failure of leadership in the state with respect to the long-term solutions. Everything seems to be piecemeal, short-term, in political interest. Is it or is it not time to perhaps bring together a brain trust of business and labor and politics and academia and civic leaders, bring them down to this mansion if there's not too much dust or someplace else, and sit people down for a weekend with all the data you need on jobs and budgets and taxation and states that do it right, and try to see if you can't come to at least some rough consensus of what a 10-year plan ought to look like, or are you going to be able to do this just within your own little inner circle? I'm just wondering, you could do it anyway, but how do you come up with the long-term plan when it's pretty complicated?
No, it's we'll be doing a variation of exactly what you just said. We'll be developing our own thoughts and recommendations from our homework, but then I'll be engaged with the legislature. They've got to be partners in this, and I'll lead, and as many of them said, Bruce, as long as you take the arrows and take the heat, we'll take some votes to get you most of it. I'm fine with that. I'll take all the heat, I'll take all the arrows. And I'm happy to give credit for the happy news that comes out of this to somebody else, because I don't really care. And I'll take all that, with anything that's bad in it, put it on me, blame me. I got no problem with that. I ain't doing this because I just want the solution. That's all I care about. So when we get business leaders and labor leaders and folks from all the state involved in the process, absolutely. And we've got a lot of that going on in our transition teams right now. We're developing our strategy in agriculture, in education, in economic development, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to expand that and be inclusive. Now, what I don't want to do is create more councils and boards and task forces, because we have, I don't remember, 830 of them or something. 300
plus boards and commissions.
Okay, yeah, well, there's some other categories I think you're missing. Well, 7,000 units ago, and we have and 720 special funds. We have 720 little, or not so little special purpose funds. No other state has that.
Hey, Cook County has 4 mosquito abatement districts.
we are government happy. We have, and the reality is, we need government. Government has an important role, but it should be efficient and it should be effective, and it doesn't need these layers and these groups. So I don't want to create another council and another, let's actually cut those in half. We might have a short-term task force, but it goes away. I've said from right in the beginning of this race, we've got to change the nature. We have the highest real estate tax burden on our families of any state in America, us in New Jersey, tied basically for the brutally highest property taxes. It's crushing our homeowners. I've had many families as I've traveled state in the campaign tell me they're on fixed income or limited income, they have to sell their house, they can't afford the real estate taxes anymore. That ain't right. And to deal with it I can't fix that whole problem just at the state level. We need to deal with the local governments. And I've talked with many mayors and many county chairmen, and we are going to form a task force. It's going to be short-term, a task force between the governor's office, a few of the legislators, mayors from around the state, and county chairmen from around the state, and a few school superintendents from around the state. I want to get in a room, and all of us stop going like this, and all of us start going like this, and let's solve the problem of unfunded mandates and restrictions and decisions getting made at the local level that are causing the state spending to go through the roof, and decisions being made by the state that are forcing more costs and more government-based spending at the local level. We can do it. We can streamline that process. And I've said that to the mayors. You know, every mayor I've said it to, count me in, Bruce, I want to be on that task force. And here's my first 10 recommendations. They all have some very specific, and the unfunded mandates and the regulations. And I've got a lot of buddies in local government who supported us in this race, but who, you know, they'll admit, and I said to them, guys, you've put your cost cutting on the backs of the state taxpayers, because you said, whenever you want to, cut costs, you lay somebody off or put them into early retirement, and then put them into the pension. So dump it off in the state taxpayers when you want to cut your local costs. Cut a salary at your level, jack up the pension costs at the state level. That's been going on all over the place. And there's more and more of that around. We gotta deal with that. We gotta put the responsibility where the accountability and the control is, and we'll do it. That ain't rocket science.
Okay, so a couple of questions. Let's over here.
I'll start.
Maybe identify yourself. That would probably be helpful.
Right now. Can you hear me now? Hello. Okay. Hello, Governor-elect. I'm PJ Staub. I live about 5 blocks down your alley to the south.
All right. I'll walk my dogs right by there.
Bring your pooper scoop. But anyway, I was over in the Amish community about a month or so ago, and one of the things they said to me, I said, I'll probably have an opportunity to talk to Bruce Rauner directly. And they said, would you take this message to him? And this was the Amish community. His name is Howard Miller, and his son Olin live on a small farm, about 25 acres. They can barely afford the real estate tax. They're wondering if there would be a possibility of a tax cap like Indiana, because Amish workers are going back to Indiana and taking their trades and their gifts that they have to bring to our community back to Indiana. That's one thing. Then I wanted to tell you I was a neighbor, number 2. And one of the largest assets that we have in the state, in my opinion, is the untapped historical relevance of Illinois to the nation. We have the president here.
Absolutely.
We've got the reenactment coming out next
Absolutely.
year. And I've got a letter to give you when I leave, because I've got a 1 o'clock appointment to go to that, and I just wanted to get this in, so I'll have a letter to give you as I leave. And I guess that's about it, but there's not even a question in this whole thing, was there?
You raised 2 important points, and let me hit them. First of all, I am a big advocate for tourism and visitors. We have unlocked potential as a tourist destination here in Illinois, and Springfield and Central Illinois especially has untapped potential as a tourist destination. And I want to be very aggressively focused on that. I want to enhance the offerings we do have and bring other offerings to Springfield and drive a major tourism growth here in Central Illinois. There's big opportunity. I chaired the Tourism Bureau in Chicago, Convention Tourism Bureau, for 3 years before I decided to run for office. Chicago was not playing at its level at all on tourism. We were performing very poorly. We put in a new staff, new board, new marketing plan, and today Chicago is one of the fastest growing tourist destinations in the United States. And we've started to grow again in Illinois as a state, but we can do a lot more. I'll keep that moving. Number 2, and this is critically important, yes, I strongly support caps or freezes on property taxes. And that was part of our campaign platform. We're going to do it, but we've got to do it with enabling and empowering local governments to control their costs. Today, a lot of their costs, the local governments are not empowered to control. and special interest groups have bought off a lot of the politicians to keep the spending going up, but we're gonna change that. And they'll put freeze in, and we'll make our property taxes reasonable. We're not gonna have the lowest in America, it's not gonna happen, but we're not gonna have the highest anymore. And here's a critical thing. I want us to have a reasonable tax burden. We don't have to have zero income tax like some of my friends want to advocate. We don't have to have that, but it should be flat, level, fair, pretty low. Because I believe we should have a good social services safety net for our neediest citizens. We don't have to have zero tax. We don't have the lowest taxes in America, but we need to be competitive on our taxes. We need to grow our way out of our problem, and today we're not competitive.
Okay, Victoria, you had a question?
I do. Welcome to downtown Springfield, Governor-elect Rauner. My name is Victoria Rauner. I'm the Executive Director of Downtown Springfield, Inc. And I did a little research on my own, and not just anecdotal research, but 2,600 jobs have left the downtown area in the last 10 years because of state government moving.
Yeah.
When I worked for the state of Illinois, probably 20,000 plus workers were here in Springfield. Currently, on the books are 17,000 in Cook County and 13 in Sangamon County, which we believe in Springfield that needs to change. It has impacted change. It has impacted our economy. It just entirely too much. And we hope that not only will you bring your family, but you will bring the jobs back to Springfield. And I hope we do.
Yeah. As I've been clear, I said it earlier, I've said it for many months. I believe that the government should be primarily in Springfield. I can't tell you exact numbers and timing in which departments. We got to work all that out. I'll love your recommendations. We're going to be working on it, but this is where the government should be based. And this is our state capital. We should treat it with respect and pride. And this is the center of the state is here for a reason. We should be a government for the entire state. We're not a government. We're not a state government for one region of the state or one county of the state. We're for the entire state. That's a big deal to me. I'll work for everybody, and I will work for every family.
Let's take a couple more questions, and then we'll let Mr. Rauner go back to work. Let's see. Let's go over to the side there. Woman.
My name is Kimberly Bush, and during your campaign, you made several less than complimentary comments about the aviation in Illinois, about flying around in jet planes, governors flying around in jet planes.
Oh.
And I believe that possibly you've been guilty of a little bit of that yourself. My understanding is that aviation is approximately a $13 billion contributor to the state of Illinois. Been several questions over the past few years about the state fleet. Do you plan to make changes in the state fleet?
The short answer is yes. I've said it very clearly in the campaign. We should not have the largest state government fleet of planes in America.
And then as a follow-up, I just want to let you know I'm Episcopal too. Really nice Cathedral Church of St. Paul down the Come on down and see us.
I appreciate that. I look forward to that. Yeah, I've got a very interesting religious background. So my dad's family, German Catholic, came here in 1854 to Illinois with corn farmers. My mom's family, Swedish Lutheran, dairy farmers. My grandparents were dairy farmers and corn farmers. There's a little double-edged trail. Spoke more Swedish than English. But my parents argued about it when I was young and what was before, and I was raised Episcopalian as a compromise. You raise an important point. I have flown a bit. I don't own a jet. I'm one of the few, the only guy in my whole firm that didn't have. I do drive. I am going to drive a lot. I don't think the taxpayers should be funded that large fleet. I just think it's self-indulgent and not unnecessary. We'll talk about how we make the government efficient in transit back and forth between Springfield and Chicago, because that is important, because there can be some cost savings and some strategic advantage. We'll figure that out. But I've said it from day one. We've got to be responsive to the taxpayers, and having the largest fleet in America does not make sense.
Someone on this side? Is it possible you've answered every question you could have possibly asked? I'm going to resist asking.
There's 4 or 5 of them.
Okay, good. You have to walk back.
You can yell if you want.
Oh, no. Oh, and can I say before you ask the question that I committed one cardinal sin? I forgot to thank our friends at WMAY and my colleague Jim Leach. They're broadcasting this live for the WMAY audience, and so everything you've said here in this room has been amplified to whatever crowd is listening at We thank you at WMAY, our good partners in the BGA, and with that, I'll let you ask the next question. I think they need the audio on mic so that it goes into the.
Oh, God, yeah.
Hi, Governor. My name is Ryan Reardon. I'm with Hospital Sisters Health System. I was wondering, with Medicaid being such a large chunk of the state budget, do you envision any major overhaul of our Medicaid program?
It's a great question. It is a huge part of our state budget. I am a strong believer in a good Medicaid program and healthcare provision to our most in-need families. I strongly support it. But we also need to make sure that it is efficient, effective. It does not have waste and fraud in it. And from what I've learned in the last couple of years is our Medicaid system needs some improvement. I don't have recommendations that I'll make today, but I'd like to assemble a talented team that really knows Medicaid, really knows healthcare service provision in Illinois. I'd love to get you part of it if you or some of your partners have an interest. I want to make sure we look everywhere in the program, make sure it's very effective, very efficient, and we're providing services the right way to the right people, and that it's a good program. And I'm supportive of the program. I'm not looking for massive shrinking or reduction of it at all, but I'm looking to make sure that the waste and fraud is dealt with, and we have a very good, effective program.
Two more, one more. Okay, Bethany, where are you? You're wandering around. So you pick the last one, and if anybody's mad, they'll be mad at you. Okay, one more. Looks like a former mayor of this town and a good friend of the BGA.
Thank you very much. Governor B. Rauner, I'd be interested in your thoughts about the possibility of abolishing the Comptroller's Office as Judy Bartopinka wanted to do. Would you be interested in looking at that over the next few years?
The answer is yes. In fact, I've stated early in our campaign, that's one of our policy positions. I think that's probably a consolidation that would make sense. I think it's a mistake to get caught up in fighting about that now. There's a process in place, we should honor that process, but I think we should look at consolidation in that office and frankly in some others.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, let me just, so on behalf of the BGA and the Springfield Advisory Board, I still call him BR because he's not governor yet. As of January 12th, he is officially governor, but until then he's BR. He's going to go next door and take some questions from the media in what we finally refer to as a gaggle. That's the family-friendly term for it. I will tell you what we call it behind the scenes, but my colleagues know. Listen, BR, thank you very much for joining us. I think you shed a lot of light on where things are going, if not with the absolute specificity you'll eventually have. Then at least I think what people came here for was to sort of see the passion and the intent. Let me just say this, as the Better Government Association, you can only run an organization like this with a certain passion for the cause. I feel like we work for 13 million Illinois residents too, in shining that light and holding officials accountable. And so to hear someone come and say it's not about the perks, it's not about the benefits, it's not about the money, it's about trying to basically give 13 million Illinois residents the best run government in America, that's got to be very encouraging. I'm sorry to say that despite your generous offer, we will not be able to take any more contributions from you because we have to hold you accountable too. If you took your money, that would be suspect. But we will watch closely, and we will have your back when you're doing the right things, and we will stay in the faces of those who aren't, as you suggested. And the only request I make as you head out of here is, when you do have a budget that you're ready to deliver, and you do know with more specificity what this big long-term direction is going to be, will you at least tentatively agree to come back to a group like this here and discuss that once more when there's a little more specificity? Mike, I won't hold you to it if it doesn't fit the schedule, but I'm just saying if it works out.
So AS, as I call you too.
There's just one extra. Middle name is not Stephen, it's Charles.
I'm not a politician. I'm not going to make you promise I won't deliver. So I'm not going to promise that. I will come in the process and get you engaged. And I do genuinely want to say thank you to BGA. Stay tenacious. Stay a bulldog. Your work can help us have a better government. And I'm all in with you. And I want to say thank you to every one of you in this room. I'm honored. I want to go to work with you. Let's bring back the pride in our great state. Let's bring back the prosperity in our great state. This is home. God bless you. Let's make our home better. I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.